Om Tat Sat. My humble prostrations to the all-pervading Brahman, to my worshipful Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayanandaji Maharaj, to sage Narada, and all the sages and saints, and to each of you, divine soul, watching today's satsang. So today we are studying the last sutra of chapter number 1, the nature of Parabhakti, that is sutra number 24. From the Narada Bhakti Sutras, chapter 1, nature of supreme bliss or nature of supreme devotion, Parabhakti. So we have patiently gone over each sutra in great detail, and I hope you're enjoying this immense blissful prasad from Sage Narada and our Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayanandaji, to all of us, so we can also understand what Parabhakti or supreme devotion means. So Sutra number 24, again the commentary of this beautiful scripture is by my worshipful Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayanandaji Maharaj, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. So let's get started on Sutra number 24. It is Nastyeva Tasmin tat sukha sukhitvam. Again, na satyeva tasmin tat sukha sukhitvam. Meaning, in that love, certainly there is no happiness in the happiness of the beloved. What does that mean? We are talking about the worldly love that Sage Narada had discussed in the last sutra. In worldly love, a lover primarily seeks his own pleasure. He does not care for the pleasure of the beloved, even though they say they do, but it's typically for your own sense pleasure. Worldly love is selfish and illusory, shallow and deceptive, fickle and false. It is reinforced by impressions of attachment born of ignorance and creates karmic entanglements that drive the soul from misery to misery, from birth to birth. And therefore, all those impressions of pain and passion and urges go and connect to our chitta, which then become the basis of our next embodiment. And therefore, we say the cycle of life and death continues on and on. In divine love, however, a devotee seeks to efface his ego sense, just as a salt doll upon entering the sea begins to melt in it. A devotee melts in divine love, just as the river entering the sea loses its individuality. A devotee allows his individuality to be lost in the divine love. It says, Lali mere lal ki jit dekhun tit lal, lali dekhan main bhi ho gayi lal. It says, I was so overwhelmed with the redness of my beloved that wherever I would see only red, 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 which means only my beloved everywhere, in everything. He says, I went to test where he is, where my beloved is, and I also became him. I became red also. So that is kind of totally immersing yourself into that process, like a salt doll of trying to measure the ocean. No matter how deep it goes, it merges into it. So that is the essence. A devotee allows his individuality to get completely lost, and that in that losing is his winning. That's where he experiences the bliss of divine love. The greater the loss of the ego sense, the greater the experience of the bliss of divine love. So ego is inversely proportionate to divine love, those of you who like mathematics. So the more the ego, the less your divine love, and the less your ego, the greater. So, and zero ego, highest divine love. This is not true in worldly love though. Even those who have lived a happily married life, professing their mutual love day by day, all of a sudden, suddenly they fight bitterly and divorce each other after 25, 30, 40 years. There is no security in human love unless it is touched by the philosopher's stone of divine love. Only then does human love become lofty and sublime. So let us understand the deeper meaning of this, and let us only deeply love God, and then love everybody, love humans, love your family, everybody, seeing the God in them. and doing what's good for them rather than just what's good for us. This is the essence of the divine love. So I hope you're continuing to enjoy these sutras, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer as well. But in the meanwhile, please continue to share, like, subscribe, do whatever you need to expand this knowledge to others who don't have it, because that when you do that, that becomes satsanga, that becomes singing the glories of God, and you become an instrument in the divine plan. This is Swami Nikhilananda. Om Tat Sat.